I'm Kay Yang. I'm a student at Fresno Pacific University, California. I'm in the Educational Technology Master's Program. I am here today interviewing Vicki Davis, the Cool Cat teacher at coolcatteacher.com. She's very well known and a respected, connected educator in the learning community. Thank you, Vicki Davis, for joining me today. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, your background with education and educational technology?
Well, I'm a full-time classroom teacher. I'm entering my 15th year of teaching. I teach grades 8 through 12, but I'm also IT director for my whole school. Before that, I taught teachers how to integrate technology into the classroom. So I kind of started teaching teachers and then ended up teaching kids.
Oh. How has your leadership in technology impacted your students' learning, the district, and you?
Well, it kind of happened by accident because I just wanted, I wanted to teach them how to blog. So I wanted to learn how to blog first. I wanted to teach them how to wiki. So I learned how to use wikis, and I've just been sharing openly. But it's obviously opened up a lot of opportunities. But, most of the opportunities I have are opportunities that every teacher has. 98% of the interactions we have are with just other teachers in other classrooms, and they are just as profound as the 2% that are interacting, with the more famous people that everybody goes, oh, wow, you get to do that. But I would just say that interacting with kids around the world and doing things with other classrooms is as, if not more impactful than the quote famous interactions they've had with well-known speakers and such. So, and those things are reachable for every teacher.
How has blogging impacted the students' learning?
Blogging or my blogging?
Your blogging, and how have you taken that into the classroom to share that with the students?
Well, of course I teach them how to blog. I help them find their own voice. And now I have kids moving back. They're adults now. And for example, one girl is running her family farm, and she also on the side has been writing some blog posts for Intel. And she's been blogging about water quality, and she's been blogging about things that are meaningful to the community. So we're seeing a long-term impact. I told the Rotary Club ages ago when I started at the school that the greatest economic development tool that had ever been invented was the internet. And that if we could teach kids how to use it, it would have a long-term impact for the benefit of our community. And we're just now starting to see it. At the beginning, it was kind of like, oh, you're crazy. But now they're starting to see the impact of the kids understanding and knowing how to connect. It's really just interpersonal skills, but I call them technopersonal skills. They're interpersonal with technology in between. Mm-hmm. And if you can master the technology in between and remove it as an obstacle and get to know the person on the other end, then you can have great opportunities in your life. And and then the other thing is just that blogging has changed me because I write and learn as I write because I feel like I have to research and do a good job, especially I always have felt that. I've always tried to blog as a beginner. But now, it got a little different about 6 or 7 years ago when I realized how many people were reading my blog. So obviously I put a lot of research into everything, and I actually have someone who helps me, Lisa Durf. She's about to be a doctor, Lisa Durf, but just with the research and making sure that what I'm sharing is accurate. And that has made me a better teacher, as well as all the comments and emails and things that people send me and say, hey, Vicki, this is happening or that is happening, has transformed me into being a better teacher. But in the end, it's not about technology. It's about the relationship with my students.
Okay. For instance, I teach in a school district that blocks nearly everything. How can this be effective with classroom blogging?
You can't do everything, but you can do something. For example, I use a Ning. That's what I use with my students. You could have a private WordPress. You could do Kid Blog. I mean, there's so many things. For many years, people used Class Blogmeister. But there are things like I was just testing a tool the other day called Write the World. And it's a fantastic tool, and it's kind of like blogging, but it's private and they're writing. There are forms of blogging that just about every single school can access. So it's not a matter of I can't do anything. There's always something you can do. So if you say, I want to write and I want to have an audience and I want to write collaboratively, those are kind of some of the things that are new that we couldn't do before.
Mhm.
you will be able to find a way to do that. Even if your kids are in Google Apps and writing together, and then you take it and post it when you get home, which I hate to see teachers that are stuck in that position, because that's the kind of position that a lot of teachers in very, I won't name the countries, but very oppressive countries have to do that.
Mhm.
And I have a real problem because we've got a digital divide. And we're exacerbating it, because if you look at some of the schools where the worst blocking happens, it's the highest need schools that are being blocked the most. So I would just love to know why that is, because we're just preventing them from having so many opportunities and so many free tools too.
Kind of time when it's not possible to use technology in your lessons, or do you try to incorporate technology with every lesson?
I could care less about the technology. It's all about what I want to do. So, one of my first lessons, we use Play-Doh, and I'm the Wonder Lab. So on the first day, I'll say we're the Wonder Lab, and I'll play that wonderful, the version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow that the amazing Hawaiian fella, I can never say his name, plays. And then I just talk about how wonderful they are and how we're going to experience wonder. And I want them to model with a Play-Doh something that's wonderful about them. And then we take pictures of it with their cell phones, and then they upload it. So their first assignment, they're actually uploading that picture in, and then I turn around and share that to parents. Now I use technology, but technology is such an afterthought. We actually used the Play-Doh and got hands-on and got our conversation going. So technology is just a tool, just like Play-Doh. I'm going to pick it up when it works, and when it doesn't work, so I'm going to put the lid on and put it up and do something else.
You offer so many of your own tools, resources, and even those offered on the internet. This can be overwhelming for beginners or starters. How do you narrow it down?
Learning. So when you come to a blog like mine and you can't really find what you want or whatever, go in the search box and just type in, differentiate instruction or whatever. And then you're going to see the resources starting with the most current that just pop up. I mean, that search box is right there and is so useful. I mean, for me now, I have 3,600 plus blog posts on there. So it's easier if you just go search for it and see what you want, and pick something that's going to resonate with you, because different things are going to resonate with different people.
For schools that just provide the hardware and not the technological support or instructional support with technology, what do you suggest is like a starting point?
I know it's such a problem. You've nailed a big problem. I would say 85 to 90% of schools today have this problem. But where you find teachers, now if you can find a buddy or two, and there can be 3 or 4 of you, and you can just create your own little personal learning community, your own little PLC, and say, okay, we're going to learn this together, and we're going to meet once or twice a week, and we're going to share resources, and we're going to move ahead together. Your life has just been made a lot easier because you can spread the effort. But if it's just you all by yourself and you're a lone ranger, start off by saying, okay, what is a hashtag for this particular technology I'm trying to implement? So if it's Chromebooks, that would be hashtag GAFE, probably GAFE. And start looking of, okay, what are the resources that I can find? I mean, for me, like I have 200 or 300 tutorial videos on my YouTube channel that teachers can just go through and watch. Like I've got all this stuff about your Chrome browser and the best extensions and useful things. It's like 30 things to do with Chrome. So you can sit down and you can kind of go through that. But my strategy, I'm sitting here at my desk at home, and it has to do with this little fella. It's a turtle. I innovate like a turtle. So I just try to move forward a little bit every day. 2 to 3 times a week, I set aside 15 minutes to learn new things. And so my first strategy is I innovate like a turtle. My second is I always have my big 3. What are the next 3 things I want to learn? Not the next 50, not the next 100. What am I doing right now that I want to do to improve my classroom? And what am I going to bring to the classroom? So, and that's it, because if you're doing it yourself, which for me, I've never really had any support. I've never really had classes at my school, or that, I've had to send myself to ISTE and send myself to conferences. And, but it's that strategy of innovating like a turtle. I do make friends with people like you online who can teach me, and I'll just say, hey, how do I do this? Or how do I do that? And be okay with the fact that you don't know. And then the other thing is to let your students learn with you. Because you know, Kay, that the kids, once you say, okay, we're going to, I mean, I remember the first time I went into something that was the precursor to Google Docs. It was called Writely. And it was, Google bought it and it became Google Docs. But I heard about Writely and I'm like, kids, hey, we're all going to try Writely. Let's all go in it at the same time and let's see if we can break it. Right. And we were editing and we found that only about 20 could edit, and, you know, and we kind of, but then we shared, and then the Google Doc people ended up calling us when they were setting up Google Docs at the beginning, because we had done all this stuff on Writely. And you can learn with your kids, because a lot of this stuff people are still learning. I would say that one very important tool to start with, though, is formative assessment, because that's going to help you as a teacher, especially math, but really all subjects. So I wrote a quick post on Edutopia called 5 Fast Formative Assessment Tools. It's a great place for beginners to start who are just overwhelmed.
Helped you professionally and in your professional growth?
Well, it's kind of like a plant being hooked to the roots and saying, how do the roots help you? As an educator, I mean, what people see in the classroom is just the stem of the plant and the flowers, but they don't see the roots underneath. And I believe that the expanse of the classroom up above, the flowering you see and the growth, is a direct result of a teacher who has deep roots, who has deep roots in learning, who has deep roots in a community, who's always drawing, you know, rich learning from the soil, but also who's nourishing herself, taking care of herself, getting rest, exercise. So we need that connection, because it just brings in all of those nutrients that we can't make within ourselves. And then also the authenticity, because I don't know about you, but when I see that other teachers have made mistakes and they've screwed up or they're having a problem, somehow it makes me not feel so bad that I struggle. Because if anybody thinks that teaching is easy, or that anybody has all the answers, or that there's some formula they can implement just to have an easy life, then it's just not going to happen, because teaching is more important than ever. Our world is a more stressful place than ever. And the harder our world gets to live in, the more important the teachers are, because we have so many wounded kids coming into our classroom, and so many hard situations and things that we just lay awake at 3 in the morning and we're crying. And, you know, and I'm just praying, going, God, how am I going to help this kid? And just things that are just happening in their lives. And it's everywhere. Don't think because somebody's at a public or private or a charter that they don't have kids who are hurting, because everybody has kids who are hurting, and everybody has colleagues who are hurting. And we need that connection just so that we can have that realness, because the problem is sometimes when we read some of these books, and I have a lot of friends who are authors, but the longer you stay out of the classroom, the more you forget how hard it is, and that there aren't easy answers, and that it's exhausting. And I'm trying to innovate, but I have grading to do till 2 in the morning, you know, like they forget just how hard it is. And I think when we connect that reality of, okay, we can move forward, we can progress, even with all the stress, progress with stress, you know, that's what it empowers us to do. And the other thing is just not for educators not to have guilt. Too many people are putting guilt on us about, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, or you got. Some schools have 15 and 20 initiatives of things that they want teachers to have to do. And that's crazy. But your focus is the kids and your classroom and teaching. And that when I look at, you know, the man in the mirror, or the woman in the mirror, when you look at the end of the day, you know, I gave my very, very best. And for me, I just say God's going to have to do the rest, because I cannot worry about all of the guilt and the problems and the criticism that comes because I am a teacher and I'm in the spotlight. It's like a warrior on the front lines is going to get wounded because they're on the front lines. And we're the warriors on the front lines of society, trying to push back decivilization and push forward for what's good and right and true, and for learning and honesty and the good things in the world. And that's what I believe teachers are. I believe teachers are noble, and I love teachers. And I want them to know that they can do this, and we have to love the kids.
Thank you, Vicki Davis, for your astounding and selfless dedication to inspire and impact teachers around the world daily and constantly with your insightful input.